You guys need brick.
I mean, I will take brick, but I can't offer you what you want. I can offer you
Sure, I'll give you grain.
Yeah, wheat for brick.
I'll give you a rock.
All right, I'll do that deal.
You're a jerk.
Take that. What am I? What am I?
A jerk. Thank you. I thought you were only trading with John Mark, and I suggested it.
So on the grayscale images, what are some areas that we like, geographical areas? So like for the rock, we would use, I guess we could pick a place in the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah, I do the Rocky Mountains just for fun. The desert, we can pull something from Arizona.
I think painting them afterwards, the appropriate color, is really what will kind of pull it all together. Just got it off the CNC. Now we haven't decided entirely what material we're going to use yet, but MDF is what we used for the prototype. So we're super happy with this. We're using a combination of grayscale images, Photoshop, and Carbide Create to really get to this point. And it's been a lot of trial and error, a few hours of trial and error.
So after cutting it out, you can see that this part right here, where it's like pure black at the edges,
Yeah.
it's fine. But if we zoom in on this corner over here, we can see there was only a slight little line of black there.
Mm-hmm.
And so the tool is not small enough to fit where that line was.
It'll make more sense later, but this game piece is going to slide into a slot. But in some other areas where the topography is a little bit different, we need to get a little more aggressive, just so everything blends together, and then we're able to use or see the roads. Usually painting MDF is an easy thing, but after you machine it, it gets really hairy, and we took a wire brush to this and tried to clean it up with a little bit of sandpaper too, and we're just not happy with how it paints after it's been machined. So the next prototype is going to have a little more aggressive on the edge blending, and then we're going to use pine to see how that works, and I think it'll turn out a little bit better. Here's the second prototype with some built-in tests. We're really trying to figure out this grayscale stuff as far as depths of cut. It's really weird trying to figure out what color means what depth, and it's really relative. It's not like black equals 1/4 of an inch or white equals 1/2 inch or anything like that. It's all depends on the model and the data that's in there and the comparison between the two of them. So this is what we got on the second one. I increased the step over just to get it done faster. This took about 1/2 hour to carve out. Pine is the way to go for painting them. So pine over MDF, we learned that. We learned a couple things that doesn't work, and we're working on those right now. One of the main reasons why is we did a test right here, which this was white and this was black, and this black wasn't supposed to cut all the way through because we put an 1/8 inch base on this, so there should have been an 1/8 inch remaining, but for some reason it cut all the way through, and the white was left untouched, which in theory should be the case. So on to prototype number 3. So I'm going to attempt to explain what we have going on here as far as what we're looking at the files. So we haven't cut this file yet. This is the rock tile, and we just imported the black and white image. So this is the image we're importing from Photoshop with the different shades of gray, and then Carbide. So this is the pro version of Carbide Create. I don't think you can do this in the free version, but what it does is it takes that grayscale and makes a 3D almost rendering of it. So this is what our cutout will look like, and we can play with the height, which is basically the, let's just simplify it, it's the how dramatic the inclines are and how steep everything is. And then the base height is just a fixed dimension that adds a base to the layer. And so that's our 1/8. So everything slopes down to a 1/8 inch, and that's what we were trying to figure out with our grayscales. What color gray, or white or black, is 1/8 of an inch when you're using 3/4 inch material. So we'll set up the tool paths and we'll get ready to cut it. The third prototype just finished up, and here it is. We're really happy with this. We've gone through 7 different layouts, digital layouts, and this is our third actual cut. So a lot of trial and error, we spent most of the day on these 3 prototypes. So the really cool thing about these pieces is this is actual topographical data from different national parks that kind of fit the, I guess, resource if you know the game. So trees are Olympic National Park, the mountains, or so it's actually in the game, it's ore or stone, is the Rocky Mountain National Park. The sheep or wool in the game, we chose the Smoky Mountain National Park for that because there's kind of a lot of livestock in that area. So that's why we chose that one. For brick, we chose the topographical data from the Grand Canyon. For the desert, came from Death Valley National Park. And then the final one, which was kind of difficult, was fields or wheat. I wanted to pick the heartland of the United States. So we went with the Badlands National Park for this data because it's kind of close to Nebraska, and I know it's in South Dakota, but it's kind of in Nebraska, and corn and wheat and that type of stuff. Just go with it. I'll leave a link down in the description to that also of where the website we pulled that information from. All right, we're on to day 2 of this project. Yesterday we spent 6, 7, 8 hours prototyping and learning how to really blend in these colors. And here you can see what I'm talking about. We actually did a test on different color percentages in Photoshop and how deep they would cut on our 3/4 inch material. Now, the 3/4 inch material is important because these depths aren't incremental across all thicknesses. The scale moves based on the material size. So now it's just back and forth, really dialing the designs and making sure we get the colors right in Photoshop, the right tint of grayscale to get it to cut the way we want to. Here is our first sheep piece, actual game piece. So we've got some hedges in here, we've got some sheep, and we've got some texture. So that turned out pretty cool. We're excited about this. So now it's going to be rinse and repeat. We finally got to the point where our design is good, our production is good. There are a total of 19 tile pieces that we need to make that will make up this game board. So let's get machining. Alright, so we've been machining these pieces, honestly, for a couple days now. This is the 3rd day that we've been working on this project, and so a lot of effort has gone into this. So these aren't cleaned up at all. These are just straight off the CNC, and this is the mountain piece, which we're extremely happy with. This is the field, and these are going to be painted, so this is just raw wood right now. There's a really big difference when it comes to machining between these 2 pieces. The roughing pass to remove the unneeded material is done with a 1/4 inch end mill on both of these pieces. Now I used a down cut end mill, but you could use an upcut just as well. That really doesn't make a difference in this scenario. Now the difference between these 2 in machining is the finishing or 3D cut. This is done with a 1/16 inch ball and mill, and this is done with an 1/8 inch ball and mill. Now with a 1/16 inch ball and mill, you can get into a lot tighter areas. I just flipped you off, sorry. But you can get into a lot more detail. I don't know if you can see that. This one, we had more detail on it. We actually had rows of wheat in these areas, and that 1/8 inch just can't get down into those crevices. We're okay with that because the machine time on this piece was like an hour and a half. Machine time on this piece was like a half an hour. And so, big machine time difference. Yesterday we learned that even though we were speeding up our cut rates and everything, we just weren't making much progress because there's so much detail in this. The machine can only run so fast. The thing that's taking so long on these is our step over. So on that finishing pass, we run a really tight step over. Like I'm running it at about 5 thousandths right now. That gives us a really nice finish, but it takes a long time. So all we've got left is the forest to do. So we've got 4 pieces left. While I've been trying to figure out all these tool paths and machining things going on over here and trying to get these pieces done, John Mark has been prepping the files for the game board and to be cut on the laser. That'll be a lot more efficient and clean, and we'll assemble it all at the end. You'll see what it looks like. But these have taken a long time, and the design work has taken a long time. The good thing is that it's replicable. So I'm going to make these files available on my website, and I'll put a link in the description to them. It might be a little while because I want to clean them up and make them user-friendly for everybody. Yeah, so this is going to be on the bottom layer?
This will be the top layer.
Top layer. Okay.
So this will be the top layer. This is the etching for the top layer. Then we're going to come back and we're going to cut hexagons out of these shapes so that the hexagons actually line up with all of those.
Okay, so just like the tiles, the pieces will drop in.
The pieces will drop in on all of those. So then it will come back in and we'll cut the outside edge all the way around after we do the engraving part.
We cut it in 2 layers, and that way the tiles have something to sit into and are secure. I'm using CA glue to do this. Really simple, quick, but the key here is to get the alignment correct. If we don't get the alignment correct, once we glue it, things could get messy, and we want everything to be perfectly aligned and snapped together. We started off with spray paint, and my goal was to layer it from with darks and lights. This is the rock tile, and so what I did was I got the black down in the kind of the valleys, and then lightened it up a little bit with some primer, actually some gray primer to get this really cool looking rock tile. Now what I'm going to do with the trees is, here's the base color of the tree with spray paint. So this is all spray paint, and what I did was I did black in the valleys again, and then I went heavy green everywhere else. Now it's a little darker than I want it to be, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my brush here with some acrylic paint and just kind of get the tips of the bristles a tiny bit wet. Like, we're not even painting, we just want to shade it. Just to hit these tips. So this is what it looks like before, and this is what it looks like after. So I'm going to do that to the rest of these forest, and then I'm going to move on to some of the other ones. On this one, I have to paint the sheep. We're going to do that white. These little things are sheep. Alright, I got all the game pieces here that I just 3D printed. Because of our game board layout, I had to, and because of these files that I purchased, have these really tiny pieces. And so what I did was, instead of just editing this file, which was hard to do, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to make a small little cylinder that is a 1/2 inch tall. And so our cities and settlements are going to be glued together in 2 pieces, like this. And that way the 3D terrain doesn't get in the way of the piece, and it's not sitting down so far. So this will just give it a little bit of a lift and make it look good. And then I need to paint all these parts to the game colors that they're going to be, and these will be finished. It was super cool to get together with friends and play the game that we recreated.
Yeah, right here.
Oh, that's me.
You
Two
get
of
two.
them. I get 3 wheats.
This was our first time play testing the game, and honestly, 95% of everything that we did worked out the way we thought it was going to. One thing we need to do is we need to make the spots where the numbers sit on top of the game tiles a little bit bigger. Some of them fit and some of them didn't. I'm not sure if that was a laser dimensioning or a design layout, but just that small tweak will get those tokens to sit in place. Be on the lookout for those files where you can create your own. I'll leave all the information down in the description for you to check out. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Building Something.